Hey everybody, this is Tasha with Prep For It. I hope everyone's doing well. This is my fabulous co-host Mouse Toes. Ta-da! um, hello everybody. Tonight we are talking about skills, different skills that we can bring to the table. I can bring to the table, you can bring to the table. Like sometimes we have hidden skills and we don't even realize it. You know what I mean? But also just things we've been through. Like I've worked so many different jobs, I've learned different things through that time. And I really don't have a list here or anything. I didn't write anything down. It's just kind of we touched on this a little bit, like things that people can bring to the table and how to improve our skills and things like that. So that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. Hey, Bug Dude. Yeah, we're this is just kind of a pre-vacation chat. So not that we're not taking it seriously, but it's just kind of a sort of like an open topic, but we're going to discuss different skills and things like that. So that's where we're at. So for me, working so many different jobs, I've worked as a CNA. Plus, I've been a mom for so many years. You know, I do have some medical experience from dealing with all of that and working in hospitals and nursing homes. And I also took 100 hours of childcare courses, so I've pretty well, all I had to do was basically take my test to become get my child development associates. I ended up going a different route. So I know a lot about child development. I know about how to interact with them and help them and things like that on that level. So to me, that's a skill because like children, when they're in a really rough situation, like they're picking up on all that tension that all the adults have and things like that. So you've got to have somebody that can kind of help ease their frustration, ease their stress, help them to, focus more on positive things and also relay that to the adults that are around them. Listen, we need to carry this conversation somewhere else, or use some kind of code words, things like that for the kiddos. So those are some of my skills, some of my basic things. Of course, I am an amateur canner. I'm nowhere near hardcore like Miss Mouse Toes over there.
You are a canner.
But everybody has skills that they can bring to the table, and a lot of times they don't even realize the skills that they have. What are your thoughts, Miss Mouse?
Well, I think when you talk about sort of being in tune with children, you can tell when a child is stressed or uncomfortable, sort of like a radar, right? I have a horror radar, right? I've talked about it before. Remember that there are women who are diabolical, like with Vern really wanting to promote somebody at work, then having her come over. And I said, this girl is like dangerous, like 800 ways, right? So, and I think a big part of being with any group or anything is having an understanding of people, recognizing when somebody's stepping over their line, recognize when someone's manipulative, that sort of thing. And one of the things that always bothered me with mutual assistance groups was, people got to be able to do this. Everybody ain't a freaking sniper, okay? Everybody can't drop a deer, like wrangle it up in a tree on a pulley to skin it. But regardless of the age of anybody in a group, they all have something to offer.
Yeah.
Type of mag groups I've looked at or meetups in the Charleston area many years ago was like a bunch of guys in camo, right, with really meek wives. And I thought, I don't need big bunch of bossy dudes, right? Because Vern and I, work as a team and a partnership of his strengths or my weaknesses, the other way around. Like a marriage isn't 50-50, bro. It's 100-100, right? If you want to make it work. And one person can't make it work alone. If somebody wants to check out, they're done. You can't rescue it all the time. But everybody, whether you were elderly or a teen, or you're taking care of a sick person in a home, can offer something to a group. While
Right.
she's sitting there with the disabled husband in bed, she could be snapping beans or whole peas. Is I don't like the way people want to not pigeon, almost ostracize people due to an age or a handicap.
Right.
Whereas us, you know what I mean? We're going to pull together as a group. And you are a canner, Tasha. You are absolutely a
Well,
canner
I am, but I'm just not. I'm not as experienced of a canner as you. We'll put it that way.
because you're not 100 years old. You're younger, you're cuter, right? So, and you get there. You have cows on your land, okay? You got a badly skilled husband, right? So, and everybody doesn't need 200 jars of something in their pantry. Some of us are just food insecure because we grew up poor, okay? So we require a massive amount of food in the pantry,
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, it's everyone offers something. It can be a
Right.
calming attitude when someone can see there could be animosity between two people, that sort of thing. Is everyone can come together as a team, and it doesn't mean, I'm better in this mag group because I can drop a deer. I can drop one with a bow, okay? But I ain't got to
Right.
brag about it. All right.
Right.
I'd rather be inside canning it after somebody hikes it up in the tree and brings
Right.
me big pieces of meat, right?
Right.
So it doesn't make one of us cooler than the other one. You can have a severe vision impairment, you can be blind, right? And you can still offer something to people in a group,
Right.
you know?
Right. I
Like
agree.
I'm
I love
okay.
what you said about like their age and like the person sitting next to the bed that could be still snapping peas, something like that. They could be darning socks, fixing
Yes.
stuff that's been ripped. They could be cutting old t-shirts into rags. There's lots of stuff
Mhm.
that people can do even if they can't physically go out, and just alone wisdom alone is an incredible thing. I mean, some if somebody doesn't know how to do something and somebody else has the wisdom but they don't have the physical ability to do it, well, those two can come together and accomplish something. Hey Trish. Hey BC. um
BC, our channel stud. Woohoo. BC truck.
yeah.
Sorry, I get excited, Touch. And that's something when you're talking about medical. I like blood and guts. Okay, I do. Did the physical therapy thing, got a cadaver laying out there for 8 weeks, looking at all the grossness. I'm just not bothered. And I worked for a linen service here. It was at a real estate company, and they had some young guys working, and they were in flip flops. And I thought, man, one of them's going to get a cut on their foot. Well, sure enough, they did. And the kid couldn't stand blood. The other one, who was 19, I had to put this kid in a wagon and drag him over into the shade, right? And it was a wagon I used to pull dirty linens in. So he fit in it perfect. And so I'm down there spreading his toe, going, man, this is gnarly. I can see the bone, right? So, and then I don't realize there's people behind me, and I hear somebody faint, and it's the owner. Okay. So I'm like, why are y'all looking? Somebody bring me, get the first aid kit, that sort of thing. And I was fascinated by it. You can't do stitches between the toes. So I say, call the local doctor, tell her we're bringing somebody in. Somebody's going to have to drive him. We're not disgusted by it. And that's what lets us open it up, clean it out, whether you were just cleaning it out with bottled water. But it doesn't make the people who can't handle blood and guts less. But they can bring us the first aid kit, right? They can open a number 4 gauze for us, right? They could give us the
Right.
scissors
Yeah.
and work it out that way. But I think and that when we see it, we don't go, oh my God, your toes cut to the bone, right?
Hmm.
So we can help people just bring it forward, that we can help people relax, even though it is, you know,
Right.
you're bleeding heavily, and like your scalp will bleed, right? Like
Oh yeah.
nothing. Yeah, that's unbelievable. People think they're dying, and it's just because it's your scalp. But yeah, and see, Sarsco gore doesn't bother them either. But for the people who it does, we don't need them in the medical tent, okay?
Right.
Because they're going to amp up somebody's blood pressure, like me, who comes in with a wound. They go, oh my God, and they turn green. That's not going to help me at my age to lower my blood pressure, you know?
Right. Well, and some people are good with other people and not themselves. Like I don't, and I can be that way sometimes. But yeah, my husband, like he chopped half his thumb off, like his thumbnail, like at an angle, and
Yes.
I was in there in the ER, and they unwrapped that puppy and was cleaning it. I was like, oh, cool. You know, I mean, I felt bad for him. Don't get me wrong. I hated that he was in pain, and he was in a lot of pain. But for me, that just wasn't a big deal. I've been with patients as they've had fingers amputated from dry gangrene. You know, from
Yes.
unfortunately they had diabetes, and the ends of their fingers, the circulation was stunted, and they
Yes.
it started to die off, and they had to cut that hay threads in jars. So yeah, I think that everybody has a skill to offer. I have some rudimentary sewing skills. I'm sure if I practiced, I could get a lot better quickly. I mean, I did well in home ec, but that's been a long time. Hey, CR. But then also, I make soap. I do soap making. I pretty much, if I can see somebody do a skill, for the most part, I can do it. I can even do some welding, arc welding.
Nice.
Um, did that in ag in high school. So yeah, I think we need to learn not to put limits on ourselves. Like
Yes.
and the skills, like somebody might be an amazing cook, but they can't bake worth a hoot. And
Hmm.
somebody else may be able to bake, but maybe they don't cook so well. And like
Yes.
everybody can come together and bring certain skills. And like what you were talking about, discernment, like you were saying you can kind of get the gist of people pretty quick,
Hmm.
kind of get the feel of who they are. And that's discernment. And I think that is an incredible skill to have. My husband has that. Like I'll be like, oh, they're the greatest person in the whole wide world. And he's like, nope, something's off about them. And I'll be
See?
like, what? And he's like, nope, something's off about them. And I mean, there's certain times when I can do the same, but he has incredible skills on doing that. Like, and bartering skills, the man can barter. Let me tell you something. I would have
Oh,
thought needed to go directly to the junk. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. He's collecting like $800 for, or he's
wow.
trading something 5 times. I mean, like of
Hmm.
incredible value for it. It really is amazing the skills
Yes.
that he has. But yeah,
And that's because he's got that people skill. I loved sales. And I
yeah,
would make fewer sales, but I was selling the $4,000 top deal, right? So other people would get down to 800 or 1,000. They'd have to, I still made more in sales, but I didn't sell as much as they did, but I did the volume. And that
yeah,
is reading people, like you said, discernment. He also knows the value of what he's selling because he's
or,
so skilled. And if
mhm,
he can build the value of that to them, then he gets more. And there's things
right,
you go, well, you know what? I'll keep it,
yep.
right?
Oh
And
yeah,
not do it. But yes, and it's also not letting people step out of their lane.
mm,
I learned this in churches, right? I went in to clean this church kitchen, and one of the ladies came down and said, "Why are you cleaning the kitchen?" I said, "Well, the microwave's a disaster. There's a lot of grease on the cabinets, and it's my day to clean, the basement and kitchen area." Well, you can't touch Miss Ruth's kitchen. And girl, I got my Zepti greaser and I just kept getting after it. Well, next thing I know, there are 5 women pulling in the parking lot going, "You can't touch this kitchen." Well, you better believe that I gave the neck roll, the snap, and said,
ah,
let's talk about funk and bacteria, right? They were
yeah,
the pastor gave me this, that's where I am. Well, we've already called the pastor. He's coming down. He came down and I taught him. I said, now let's put a little mug of water in this microwave and let's put it on 7 minutes. Okay. And when we did, if you'd have seen it, what I did was I put vinegar in the mug, right? That
right.
helps really distill. And the stuff that fell off that microwave, man, he turned around, told those ladies out in the parking lot, and I could hear him having church on how you are putting stuff in there. So you also can't have someone who's so You can get somebody in there who's got their hands on the hips and it's going to be my way or the highway when you need 4 or 5 people working in the kitchen. You certainly can have, like we talked about, being a good leader, but they can't be irrational, right? But
Right.
a kitchen needs to be cleaned. Every time you do a big Sunday cookout for the church, it needs to be really sanitized, just like I don't
Right.
put my fingers in my jars, right?
Right.
So that I'm not putting something into that canning jar. And
Yeah.
cleaning knives, I get a toothbrush out on my knives, particularly my fish filleting knives or Burns knives,
Right.
make sure there's not a scale deep under there, anything. And so you can not only have the skill, but you got to be able to work with people.
Right.
Sometimes it's better to have 3 teenage girls assisting an older lady in a church kitchen because they're very malleable. And I want you to chop this and you to chop that. And they're
Hmm.
not going, I've been a member of this church long as you. I should be able to use the Cuisinart, you
Yeah.
know. But
And
I think
what
they're both
cook in their
discernment.
right mind would not want somebody like if somebody volunteered to go in and clean my kitchen, go for it, honey. Go for it. You can go across it with a fine tooth comb. Have at
Yes.
it. I'm all happy if I can walk in there to a clean, shiny kitchen and I didn't have to do it. Come on
That's
now.
right. Yep. And just because you only want the 4 of you doing it, none of you really care about bacteria. The Crocs, like I have the Crocs, I keep my, big utensils, like I
All
keep one
right.
with spatulas. I clean those out regularly.
Well,
Grease
yeah.
goes in the air, and I take them
Mhm.
out and I clean them. I went on a hella housekeeping thing the other day, and I just blew my mind. Usually, but I mean, I wiped out every cabinet, I cleaned every crock, I pulled out every basket, and got
Right.
behind it. And I love that Lysol all-purpose cleaner because it smells lemony instead of
Uh-huh.
strong. And then
Yeah.
I have rags that I use. I don't use like it's just something you don't use for anything but cleaning. But I don't go
Right.
wipe out my oven with one and then drag it across my cabinet, my
Right.
countertop. So, but it's like as long as our home, you can get disorderly in your home, right? Like you got beach bags dropped down or a sack, your laundry room can look like it caught on fire because you got piles of different things. But that's not dirty or unsanitary. So I think this discernment is the real thing. You put
Yeah.
people with like skills, not only do they have the skill, but they can get along with other people and not have a bunch of people coming out the kitchen going, I hate working with her. But that's our cupcake maker. So don't upset the cupcake maker. How about don't upset anybody? Don't upset
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah. And I think I get that, like, if somebody that's been the kitchen where they've taken care of for so long and stuff like that, I get them kind of referring to it as their kitchen. But Ginger
Yes.
Ninja's absolutely right. That's not her kitchen, that's God's kitchen.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
it's serving more than just her, And I
Yes.
know that maybe she feels like she finds an identity in that, but you have to also learn to accept help. You have to
Yes.
learn to be flexible. You have to learn to um yeah, I mean, just basically accept help. You can't just expect that everybody's just constantly supposed to just stay in their little area and never step out of it. I mean, I'm one of those people. I like to help. Like if I go over to a friend's house and they're doing all the cooking, I feel out of place. I'm like, I'm here. I've got two good hands. I can help. I can chop veggies. I can do whatever you need me to do. I'll wash dishes while you're cooking if that
Yes.
will ease your burden, whatever it is. But I don't want to just sit there and stare at somebody else doing all the work. That drives me crazy.
Right. And you want to be in a team in there, you
Yeah,
know?
let's ease everybody's burdens. Like many hands make light work, isn't that what they say?
Yes.
So Threads and Jars says she can entertain Trish. Okay, you entertain Trish.
I love that. Yeah, and it is this church basement where the kitchen was of course cinder block, and it had not been painted in years. And so we took a little swab off the wall, and it was a mold. So, and we had just built a house with a cinder block basement, and they use that special paint that will always seal in that cinder block. And
Right,
so we presented that to the pastor, and once we had the swab analyzed, and that is a mold, and that's not good, and you want to use that dry lock stuff. And then it's like $18.99 a gallon. And they were going to have to use 19 gallons, but we could have all painted it ourselves. The men in it, that church wanted to do it. Women weren't allowed. I didn't have a problem with that. But man, they about had a fit when he presented that we need to buy this paint out of the church funds, because they didn't understand there's too much moisture down there, which could have
Uh,
been a big part of the kind of wet feeling and having to really clean the kitchen cabinets. But to me, it was grease buildup for 5 years, because you got to clean your cabinets,
yeah,
okay? And it's hard when they're particle board, okay, but you can still clean those in a way that you can get them sanitary too. So, but
right,
it was like, you can't let a building deteriorate. When our front porch, if you get a rotten step, you don't stick like a couple phone books under it. You're going to get a piece of wood and do it. If you wait till the post is rotted, now it's pulling on the roof. Now you got to
right,
get a real carpenter, and you got to have 4 or 5 skilled men come. It's
yeah,
sort of like dental issues, right? I was talking about that in a chat the other day. When you start getting a sensitive tooth, go to the dentist then. If you
mm-hmm,
wait and wait and wait till just cold air hurts it when you're breathing in the winter, now instead of just getting a little cavity filled, you're probably looking at a root canal, a $1,500 crown, and you don't have that kind of money sitting
right,
around, or you might have it put aside to get some kind of solar power or an inverter or something.
right,
And then the next thing you know, your next tooth is bad. It's not from you not caring from your teeth, it can be genetic. When something's wrong, like you've got your cinder blocks start getting mold, find the money. I can find the money for anything I want, anything. I just have to go, okay, I'm not going to have Coca-Colas this week, or just trying to think. You get older and you pare things down, but it used to be, okay, I'm not going to eat in a fast food place for
right.
4 weeks and see how much I save. You
I'm
can
gonna
afford,
take my lunches instead of going and eating out every single lunchtime.
yes,
I'm gonna
yes,
forgo those $7 lattes in the mornings that I
yes,
I get every morning or whatever. I'm not gonna stop
yep,
by the donut place or whatever it might be.
yes, yep,
Yeah,
and then I'll get
and
that little cavity filled before it becomes something big, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, and Morgan's
it
right. Putting off something seems to have negative consequences.
truth, Morgan, truth,
Yeah.
definitely.
hmm So we all
Ginger,
have
I hear you. I'm like that too a lot of times.
a skill. Maybe we can't can, right? Maybe we can't lift canners up. Maybe we got arthritis, but they still have something they can do and contribute. You know what I mean? That could be the person who sits on the bar stool and watches those 2 canners go for 75 minutes processing meat,
Yeah,
right? But they couldn't do the other chopping and whatever. And
right.
it's part of what we talked about too. Leadership is encouraging people. The skill of being able to chop up the chicken or brown the ground beef for canning it, being able to carry heavy things doesn't make somebody better than you who can only sit there and watch. You need
Mhm.
somebody watching canner. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and sometimes it's just somebody that's a good delegator because, like they're so good at being organized, they can say, "Okay, I see these 5 things that need to be done. Okay, over here, in order to get that accomplished, I need this person doing this person doing this, and this person doing this. Meanwhile, over here, this is the next thing that needs to be accomplished. How about you, and you take care of that? I mean, there's some people that are just they're managers. They're real good at juggling a bunch of things at once. Even if they can't physically go do it themselves, they can see what needs to be done. They can get all of that organized and see,
Yes.
get everybody taking time to do it, so it's
Mhm. And then you learn too, there's people you don't want in a leadership position, like in a kitchen, because they upset everybody, right? Or they're too bossy. It doesn't make them bad, right? It just makes them, okay, we're going to find a place that they can fit in, that's a little bit different, because and you always thanking people, wow, you did a great job organizing that pantry. Wow, thanks for getting the whole menu together for this week, of everything that we needed. That's part
exactly.
of encouraging people and thanking them, you know.
Thank you, Threads and Jars, for answering Alicia's question. I was looking, that's why I was looking around. I was like, I don't have my canning book here, and I don't want to tell her wrong. Um,
And
oh, we got sprinkles coming.
here's a good rule of thumb, Alicia. Have you looked at a good reputable source for canning ham and pinto beans, such as the online download that we showed you if you don't have the book? And the rule of thumb is if you have two items going in a can, you got pinto beans. So what is the process time for beans? Then when you add ham, it's whatever item you put in there, like the meat, which is going to be processed longer. A lot
Right.
of people go, I'm just going to process it. But remember that book, Tasha, that we both have that can be downloaded?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
can't think of the name of it right now, but
yeah. It's like
I,
it's the
I'll text
USD.
I'll text it to her after we
Okay.
get off of here. I have her number.
And
Um,
she can literally download it on her desktop and
yeah.
then put in ham and pinto beans and find it.
Right. Right. That'll be nice. Um,
Yes,
that sounds yummy. I'm excited that
yes.
you're doing ham and beans. I need to. I've got a ham I need to pull out and cut up and do that.
See, Ginger's one of our sassies we were just talking about. I tell people what to do even when it ain't my business.
Okay. So if I'm somewhere and something's needing to get done and everybody's standing around twiddling their thumbs, I'm that person. I'm like, okay, so wow, looks like we need to sweep the floor and we need to, get the dishes done or like if we're setting up for some kind of a surprise party or something. Okay, streamers need to be hung up. Who wants to do that? Like I'm that person because it drives me crazy when the person that's supposed to be in charge isn't doing what they need to do. So yeah, I completely understand that. And then they're looking at me like, who you think you are? You think you're the boss? Yeah, I think I'm the boss because nobody else is being the boss.
Yes, here it is. This
There it
is
is.
our favorite. Yep. And this is
Complete
the one that you can,
guide to home canning. Okay,
mhm.
that's
And
what it's
this
called.
is the one you can download and put on your desktop so that you never have to wonder. You know what I mean? Yep. And because not only do you have to know the process time, what is the headspace? And I put on my community page on my channel the Mudbrooker, who does an absolute outstanding video on how to drive your Presto pressure canner and talks about that vent lock has to come up. Then you start your 10 minutes for your steady stream, and he kind of gives you the science of it. And he does outstanding. My God, he's like the cast iron whisperer. My God, he can restore any piece of cast iron you've seen. So people who want to know how to season it and stuff, it really rocks. And then he's got this big, deep voice. Like you would listen to an obscene phone call from him, right? Because his voice is that good. And he's willing to share that knowledge. And he's a great canner as well. So Threads and Jar says, don't buy this on Amazon. It's printed in China and has errors, but you can still download it on your desktop and it gets a free download, or you just keep it, keep the link and then just go to ham and pinto beans because you got it. That headspace is a huge part of safely canning. You can't do a 1/4 inch headspace when it calls for one, you know?
Right.
And then it'll tell you if you need to soak those beans first because they're going to expand and you could lose that 1 inch of headspace.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Kathleen Elliott, Mudbrooker was a lifesaver to me. Very calm voice. Yeah. But Alicia, when you ordered it on Amazon, it's coming. You can always pull it up on your phone. You know what I mean? From the free download and see.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then lots of people, and they send corrections too by email. I've had books before where it says, please, on page 27-1, correct that to 1/2 inch of headspace or something.
Right.
You
Like
know?
you could go through and make any corrections you needed and write it in your book if you need to.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's an
But no,
option. It'll take a little time, but it'd be worth it.
yeah. And knowing how to do it. I remember when somebody was adding meat to something and we watched them and they did it in the water bath and they said, oh, my grandma always did it. And I thought, well, food has changed. That's what's really interesting too, you know? And we used to have, remember the big red rubber ring and we had to turn a jar upside down for it to seal. Things are so much better now. Yep. Soak the beans. Way to go, to Alicia. Nice. Nice.
Alicia, your Presto canner has a recipe for canning beans in there, and it may have it like if you've added meat. So You can check in your Presto booklet for a lot of that stuff, your user guide.
Yes. Yep. And just never be afraid to ask or look up things. And Google is a wonderful thing. And then some of the first things that'll come up is a ball recipe, that is trusted, not just trusted, it's a proven recipe. I saw a cute meme the other day that reminded me of when we were talking about how did they come up with these safe recipes, right? Did they can something for 45 minutes, everybody eat it the next day for lunch and get sick?
I know.
And then later they canned it for 60 minutes and nobody got sick. Of course, they didn't do that. But it was a meme on think of the people. There was a great book. I think they turned it into a movie, but it was The Clan of the Cave Bear. And it was Neanderthal cavemen. Imagine who's nibbling on these herbs they find, right? Can you be allergic to it? Does it make your tongue swell up? If I put it in a wound, does it help it to scab up? Who actually did that kind of research? They had to
Right.
try it. And I thought,
Like,
yes, it
did they, whoever drew the short straw have to be the one to try that product, that particular plant? And was it like, okay, these three drew the short straw, you have to try the flower, you have to try the leaf, you have to try the
yes,
stem, and maybe there was a fourth one for the root. Like, and
yes.
then another four, like, okay, if that didn't work, what about cooking those? Do you still have the reaction if you cook them?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I like
Oh,
that. Carolyn Lowe says botulism will teach you if you live. Yes, if you live.
yes,
That's
you
right.
live.
But
Hungry
there is
people fight SARS-CoV. Yeah.
how a lot of people get sick at a church picnic. It seems to be church picnics, right? It's like if I'm going to bring something to a church picnic, it ain't going to be potatoes that I canned. I'm going to go
Right.
get fresh potatoes and make it. And that's what happens. And a lot of times it is, hey, gray man prepping, how are
Hey,
you?
Gray Man. Good to see you, Gil.
And so I'm not going to bring something I can't. And that had happened at one, and the potatoes were processed incorrectly, had skins on it, still were kind of dirty. Everybody goes, oh, I bet it's the mayonnaise. If you're taking something to an outdoor place, use plain yogurt. But it
Right.
was generally the eggs, right, or the potatoes. And then, of
Yeah.
course, they go get samples, and those people are devastated. You know what I mean? That they cause that. If you can butter, just use it on your family. Don't when you have company over, not let them know that you canned butter or something. I'm not going to do that to people, right? So
Right.
it's just not safe. But it's so devastating. And then it makes the news and it makes the newspaper and they say the name of the church and everybody knows who
Oh,
made it. It's just
oh
devastating.
yeah. That would be my luck so much.
Yes, yes. See, now Carolyn
Oh,
Lowe, she understands the can-do attitude because Ayla, right, was the main girl. Yeah, and she was the new one. She was the Neanderthal. She had a can-do attitude, rode the first horse. And how about John Delar, Carolyn Lowe? Swoon in the book. I was like, oh, I got a crush on John Delar. Yeah. There's some books that can make things come to life, you know? Yeah, and see, Morgan Threads and Jar just said I refuse to eat at potlucks because of watching someone preparing a dish for the party, was 14 and vowed to never eat at a potluck again. Enough said. Yeah, you know, eating food is pretty serious. I need to know your kitchen clean. Yep. Now we have talked about this before and giggled and said we have seen some people can, and I'm like, just let me in there. I want to scrub that kitchen with Comet,
yeah.
right? But their hands are sanitary, right? Their jars are sanitary. They understand it, and all of us don't have a beautiful, perfect kitchen either. You know
No.
what I mean? We just
No.
don't.
If people saw mine, I scrubbed everything, like with, like scrubbed everything with soft scrub, with bleach in it, and bleached everything down, and then I re-wiped over everything and stuff. But my backsplash, you can see where we painted over it because we're going to remove that backsplash part that goes behind our oven. So yeah, it looks like a hot mess, but it is what it is. And that
It's like
backsplash has been in there for probably 30, 40 years at least. And so it's
right.
like all stained and everything. So we're pulling that off. And yeah, but as long as it's clean, that's the main thing. It doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to be clean.
Exactly. Yes. And it just fuzzy. And Alicia asked a good question, and she said she got some jars that have some mold in them, and can they be used? And what I do now, I don't use bleach in my house because I'm on a septic tank. Okay, so
Right.
I'll take the jars downstairs. I mean, I'll literally pour like what's the smallest measurement? A third of a cup of bleach in each jar. Then I top it off with water, right, all the way up to the end, and I let it sit out there in the sun. And if it's going to come out, it's going to come out because of the bleach. I don't want to do that in my sink because when I pull the plug on the sink, all that bleach is going to go into my septic tank,
Right.
destroying my good amoeba eating things, you know?
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely try it. I've had a jar get something very weird before that I had beans in. You know, I always keep like a whole weenie. I used to show, this is from 2012, but I keep it to show people the seal's still good and it had hot dogs in it. And when you go to empty it, sometimes you can never get rid of what's inside that jar, which doesn't make sense because it went through your dishwasher. But then when
Right.
I go out and do the bleach with it, it disappears. It almost looks like it's etched, but you can't feel it. So it's very weird. But that's a really good question to ask, Alicia, because we're
Yeah.
only as good as the jars and the lids and what's on our hands when we do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that sun will warm up bleach and water, buddy.
Yes, it will.
Sandra's here.
Hey, Sandra.
Yes.
Um, but like if you look at all your life experiences, back to our topic, if you look at all your life experiences, there's a lot of times that we have a lot more skills to bring to the table than we think we do. Um,
Yes.
even if you're just like book smart or something like that, you can be reading instruction manuals on things. You can be talking somebody through building something. There's things that you can do in order to, help your group or help your family, which would be mine, would be mainly family. And we have two best friends that live pretty close to us. My husband, his best friend, and his wife, which is my best friend. So those are our peeps, and we do have family that live nearby. But I'd be more apt to rely on his best friends than I would family because I don't know, they're just younger and they don't necessarily think in the same way as we do on
Yeah.
things. And
And you have a granddaughter, so you want to make sure anything you're feeding or having in your house is safe for her because young people are more susceptible to different things. So it's just what you're saying, different life experiences and ways that you're careful. No, I haven't needed to bust a cap in anybody yet, Josh. The night is young.
she, a lot of times she tends to do that when she's getting a little more aggravated, which is about 5 minutes till closing time. And then
Yes. I'm like, damn, yeah, we're not used to
everybody,
sitting this long. Remember when we did the cannon thing? We were there like 3 hours. I'm like, I cannot feel my butt. Okay, because we're not sitting people, right? We're doing people, you know?
5%.
Oh my God. Stephanie, Joe, she has not learned to can. I think if Stephanie Joe Roundtree is young, she's 70 because she has such a young attitude. And everybody doesn't have to be a canner. We've said that. You don't have to grow a
Yeah.
garden. If you just want to dehydrate, get yourself a dehydrator and hit the farmer's market. You ain't got to grow a tomato if you don't want to. Yeah, because Fuzz Fork, a good Braille cookbook, is only available at the fire department. Okay, because yeah, that's not good. Yeah, and there, CJ 1975 said family has food allergies, so they have to be super careful.
Yeah.
Have you ever like somebody come over for dinner and they didn't tell? I usually ask people because we make a lot of seafood, right? We catch crab and fish. And I'll usually text and said, does anybody have a food allergy, right? Like can't eat seafood. That's pretty big food allergy,
Hmm.
right? Your tongue
Yeah.
swells up, then the ambulance is coming, right? That's not good. Making a scene in your neighborhood. And then so they come and they go, oh, are your bread gluten free? And I go, are you allergic? Oh, no, it's a lifestyle. Well, you could have told me that, but that just means more bread and rolls for me, But it's like give people a clue on something, because I always want to ask, And fish paste is another one that happened in Spain to a lot of people. They tell them I'm allergic, to any type of seafood. And their dish, like a Caesar salad, had fish paste in it. And of course, they
Oh,
had an immediate reaction at the
yeah.
table. So
Yeah.
communication's a wee bit important
Just
with food.
just 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 a wee bit. Just a wee
Yes.
bit.
Yep. Yep. And if you have a gluten-free lifestyle and you know how to do the stuff with flour, if you're going to go with a group, then you need to bring that product for yourself. It's
Yes.
not, I'm never going to have gluten-free anything, you know.
Yeah. And I think that, I think that, people, if it's good that you can have somebody that has those kind of skills that can cook with those kind of things that are not necessarily something that most people cook with. Um,
Yes.
and so they can bring a lot of wisdom and an experience into that. But you have people that have been fishing just for fun all their lives, but that's a great skill to have. Hunting is a great skill to have. That helps bring in the food. People who know their wild edibles and herbal, things like that. A lot of people do it as a hobby, but truthfully, they have a lot of wisdom and they can help the group with those things. They
Yes.
can be teaching other people those skills, because that's another thing you have to consider in a group. You don't want just one person that knows how to do something that's
Right.
vital for your survival. You need multiple people so that
Yes.
if something happens to that one person, they get sick, they die, they get injured, something happens.
Yes.
You have people as far as backups.
Mm-hmm.
So having the younger people, especially that are willing to go out and learn that stuff and that are eager to learn new skills, that's
Yes.
really helpful. I mean, anybody can learn the new skills. I'm not saying that, but a lot of times, you know, their brains are
Mhm.
just more set to absorb that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yep, and I don't count on anything by my memory. I've got the little binder, of like basics of how to chop up your rabbit, just some little rough stick man pictures. Same thing with before dehydrating, clean the parsley, dry the parsley. And I get a lot of comments. What I would do dehydrating is I call them food towels. Okay. So I'm going to take a bunch of parsley or whatever, run it through the colander, rinse it under my sink good, and then I dump it in a towel, right? And then I fold it off. I'm not going to use paper towels. It is just a towel. It has no fabric softener in it, right?
Right.
It is a towel that I use for that kind of thing. It's not dirty, it's clean. And then right after I get it as dry as I want to, spinach is the same thing. Then I put it in my dehydrator and that towel goes in the washing machine,
Right.
but I'm not laying out paper towels to do that, you
Right.
know? Yeah. So there's different things. And of course, yeah, it's not a towel I just would have dried a dog off with or something. It tickles me. And even in my book, before it says parsley or dehydrating or temperature or things I have liked and not like dehydrated, clean it, use the food towel, right, on it. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, born without fabric softener. See, Prepper 101 gets it. I do not like fabric softener, people. I just don't. So, and I use Amway laundry products. Your washer will never rust your drum anything. If you have a repairman come over, the motor goes out and he goes, "Why do you have no rust?" It's because it's Amway. It's not full of fillers and that sort of thing, right? And it doesn't leave a buildup in your food towels, that are specifically for that toe flavor. Yummy dog fur Frito toe flavored meat, Carolyn Lowe. Salad. Yeah. Like we've got a storm coming, so I've got big thick towels that maybe got a stain that I got from the laundry room, not here, but when I had a job, because we're going to come in from the porch or wherever with wet shoes, right? The screen porch is going to get wet. You're going to go check on things. And then those our shoes, well, because we don't wear shoes in the house, other house shoes, they're going to go right on that towel. So we're not walking across hickory floors with moist shoes. Let's try and keep the reason we have a roof is to keep the water off our wood floors. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Ew, Prepper 101. The 10-second rule comes in effect when he cooks. Okay, not eating there. Meet you at McDonald's. Okay. God. And
Ugh.
see, Threads and Jar out of nowhere had a reaction to sesame oil. What had never, it was very frightening when it happened. And that happens as people get old. I had a friend who didn't get gluten reaction till he was 54, and then literally broke out with like pimples, and half of his tongue felt itchy. Very weird. Yeah, so that's
Oh,
not fun. Gotta get older. At least I don't have many. I'm allergic to bees, but that's it. No 10-second rule. Sandra knows. Sandra Moody knows because she's a safe canner. No 10-second rule. Okay.
no kidding. No kidding.
And I'm telling you, we got to stay motivated with stuff we're doing. Like, you ever look out there and you're like, I do not want to go harvest that parsley, right? I do not want to go add some calcium to all my plants. Oh, I got to take my eggshells, soak them in vinegar. But we got to stay motivated, right? Because we're
Yeah.
putting food, because we never want to go through what we did last year, whether you dehydrate or can or go to, who wants to go to the farmer's market all the time and drop $80, right? And then come
Well,
home.
they didn't even let a lot of them be open the last year either. Like a lot
Right.
of places, you couldn't even go to. Yeah, that option wasn't available. So
Yes. And I don't know if it's all around the country, but in the South, in Louisiana, there'll be a guy in a pickup pulled over who's selling live blue crabs or live shrimp, out of his car, and you just come with your minute bucket, or your big bag, your laundry basket with a big bag in it, and you buy them. And that's never been, we've lived other places and never saw that. But yeah, last year I didn't even see the regular people who go out and sell their big tomatoes on the side of the road, or their squash. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah, that just dried up. You're right, Tasha.
yeah.
It's just the craziest year ever. But the one thing we learned from last year, right, is we need to have lots of toilet paper, okay? Because people are willing
Or a
to kill
bidet.
you. Yes, or a bidet. They're willing to kill you for it in a grocery store, and have, whether you put up Artisan Foods or freeze dried foods, or you buy Thrive,
Or
and know
dehydrated
how to make
food.
bread in the name of God. And that requires yeast. You know how many people still, Mom's layer. Um, I love moms. We love moms.
Yes, we
Um,
do.
is you got to know how to make bread. There's still people who cannot find yeast. Does not have yeast? I like that instant yeast. It never goes bad, and you can keep it. I'm not buying those little envelopes of Fleischmann's or whatever the hell that is.
I buy the envelopes if I see them on sale. Like I did buy some that were on sale, but yeah, I have the little jars and I just put them in my
Yes.
freezer. So
Yep. You remember
I
when they
like to
came
do
out with
ours
the little
too.
glass jars, and it was bread flour, bread making flour? I was like, I've never had, when I had a bread maker, I never had to use something different. But I love to knead bread, so I prefer to do it by hand. It makes a lot of noise in a bread maker. I'm thinking that doesn't sound nice. What's going on with my bread?
Ba-thum, ba-thum, ba-thum. It's like sounding like a washing machine when it's off
I
kilter.
know. Yeah. To me, it's really relaxing to knead bread, and you're hearing the air come out, man. Because you made a live, it's alive. You made it. You created a live entity, right?
Yes.
Have you gone to somebody's house and their bread's great, and you're eating the bread and it has no flavor, and at some point they go, I don't know if you can tell, but I forgot to add salt. Salt is the whole flavor of your regular bread. I'm not talking
Right.
like a rye bread or something, but
Right.
it's like, yeah, don't forget your salt.
It's like,
Okay,
give me that butter and I'll add a little extra salt in that butter and slap it on there.
yes,
Maybe it'll
yes.
be all right, I guess.
Okay, Sarsco says bread flour has more gluten and makes better loaves of bread. Oh, that's so weird. I've used it because when there wasn't like regular flour and I wanted to fill up a little 5-gallon bucket of it, I got it. But no, I didn't know that. I didn't know the difference. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, bread maker yeast. What the heck is that about? Okay. I mean,
Yeah, I use regular, like I use a quick yeast or but I mean I sometimes I'll use the other, but I tell you a good free class that I took on bread making was with homesteading families. Let me see if I can find their channel. Um she does neat little stuff like that, and I mean you can pay for additional stuff on it if you want, but you don't have to. But she gives some great tips because they make all their own bread. Matter of fact, so much so that their kids make it. Here is their channel so you can see what it looks like.
okay.
and they do excellent on their on teaching stuff. So I signed up for the
Homesteading
free class and
family.
took it. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
and they're very neat
Nice.
couple. They do a lot. They do a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
and that's where I learned to do the water glassing eggs.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, another skill and a way to preserve eggs, whether you're buying fresh chicken eggs from a neighbor or whatever. That's
Hmm.
fantastic. Okay, I found their
Hmm.
channel.
Yeah.
Let me get to their
Yeah.
videos. Oh, she's cute. And I appreciate anybody who's willing to teach anyone, and especially doing it right on a YouTube or a video format is certainly not easy. Let me
Yeah.
put this. There's their
She's a
channel.
teacher at heart, let me tell you. She homeschools her kids and she is excellent at explaining everything and like very, very good teacher. I just have to say that. Yeah. Incredible. So I really love that channel. Carolyn is really a teacher at heart and she's great at organizing. She can like she shows how they organize what they're doing throughout their day and stuff because they've got a really large family and they start really really early in the morning and go till pretty late in the evening with
Wow.
between homeschooling and animal husbandry and all of and farming and all of that. So and she does a lot of the more traditional skills that have kind of been lost. So yeah, yes, the needy homesteader is awesome too.
Oh
um
yeah.
but yeah, that's a great channel. I highly recommend that channel.
Here's a interesting question from Threads and Jars. I've been wondering about making mini loaves of bread in the smoker. Wow. See, I always think of a smoker as imparting flavor,
Yeah.
right? Whatever you're using of the wood or whatever, I would think it could taste like smoke. I
Well,
like a
I'll tell
real.
you what, my husband likes smoked biscuits.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
He ate that at a cookout one time and he really liked it. I don't know. To me, yeah, I like a smoky flavor on meat, but yeah, I don't know that I want everything tasting like smoke, but yeah, smoked cheese, oh my gosh. Smoked
Oh,
Gouda is like to die for. That's so good.
now here's a good thing from Fuzz Fork, right? I heard you can freeze flour in the deep freeze to make it last longer. Is that an urban myth? Now, I freeze whatever flour I get in the freezer for 7 days, right? Or any kind of pasta. Like if you buy boxes of pasta, there's the 10 for $5 sale. I chunk them in there. I write on the legend on the top, put in on Friday, June, whatever, take out whatever day. So, and there are people who keep it like somebody talked in the side chat too about keeping your yeast in there.
Hmm.
I don't want to keep my flour in there because remember they come in it's like a bag,
Hmm.
right? That I think that could, bags get wet like sugar comes in. So I
Hmm.
always then take it out of the freezer in 7 days. I put it on another food towel on my island and let it get completely back to temperature before I dump it in a 5-gallon bucket, that has flour in it. So
Right.
I don't know. I think I'd have to put that way at the bottom of my chest freezer, and I think I'd forget it's there. What if you had ice cream melt in there or something? I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, I do 7 days SARS-CoV because it's really 3 to 7 days, they say, to kill any of those bugs.
Yeah.
So I just do mine on the whole list. Seven is an easy
Yeah.
number for me.
Yeah.
I don't.
I do mine for at least a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I think you could lose your flour in there doing it. But the good thing about having flour in the freezer is when you want to make biscuits, you want everything ice cold. Like if
Yeah.
I'm going to make biscuits, I take the 7 or 8 cups of flour I need, and then I put them in the refrigerator in, a plastic container with a lid on it, so
Right.
that the butter's going to be ice cold. I'm trying to cut in with a pastry cutter.
Right.
The flour's ice cold. My yeast is already in the refrigerator. So
Yeah.
maybe that could be the other reason, Fuzzy. It won't hurt as long as, of course, you don't get it wet. Let's say that your freezer defrosts. Once that flour's wet, it's done. See, I think a flour is alive. I have a little hand grinder. If, to do your wheat berries, my God, and when you make something with fresh milled flour, you realize it's alive. Again, we've got a Frankenstein thing going.
It's alive! It's
Yes.
alive!
But okay, so smoked biscuits, and your husband, he says he likes it. So maybe there's something to Threads and Jars asking about smoking little bread loaves. Ooh, she's smoking onion bombs tomorrow.
Oh,
She's gonna
yum.
try a small batch of dough in mini loaf pans. Oh, that is brilliant. And then give us a report, Threads and Jars.
One of the things the Texas Boys Are Family Story is the channel name, and they actually put their dry goods in large. What it is dog food containers that have a gamma lid in it, but they're food safe because they're made for dog food. But they're
Right.
food safe, and you can either sit them upright or you can put them on an angle. So they hold more
Oh,
if you sit them upright. But like if you have a shelf that's not that tall, you can sit them in an angle, and they hold a lot of food in there.
nice.
Yeah, and they have a gamma lid on it, so you don't have to worry too much about getting bugs or anything in there. So yeah,
Nice.
they put their rice and their flour, and because they're big on, like, if people want to learn how to like cook from literal scratch the old
Yeah.
fashioned way, you can go to their channel. They have they buy everything in bulk, and they basically um do most everything from scratch like that. And so it's pretty neat. Their channel's pretty neat.
Yes. See, and there's nothing wrong with getting back to that. Okay. Threads and Jars will make a video on it if she does it. So I'm going to go and get her channel link. So if you're not
Mm-hmm.
subbed, you can, because if your husband likes smoked biscuits, then this
Mm-hmm.
could be something epically unique.
Yes.
Because Joe, if he don't like no good, he likes good eating. So if he says it's good, he digs it. Okay, let me put her over here. This is her. This would be a great thing to know, especially in the South when you don't want to turn your dang oven on, right, for an hour or
Right.
something. Do it outside. Okay, I'm completely okay. And Dagny uses those bins like crazy, Tasha. So that is wonderful.
Who does?
Her friend Dagny uses the bins you're talking about like
Yeah.
crazy. Yep.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love those gamma lids. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when we first got the 5 gallon before gamma lids came out and you're having to use that big plastic wrench like thing? I could never open it, right? Vern would have to, and he could open it easily. And then once the gamma lid came, you just hammer the little, oh my God, did it make things easier, you know? Okay, Carolyn Lowe got Southern Taste Bud sounds yummy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dagny says to Morgan, no on the loaves and suggested making my super flocation. Oh my God, that bread with the holes in it. I love that so hard. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
So she's going to try something else. That would make sense because you lay it out, right? And it's much flatter. Oh, this is going to be a good experiment, Morgan. I'm looking forward to this video. I like to even put up things that fail, right? Gave it a try. Oh,
Yeah.
that's excellent.
I mean, maybe somebody will see like where you faulted or something like that, and can help you
Yes.
figure out how to perfect that skill. You smoke cobbler? Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, this is crazy. See, now we're all drooling. Right now, I want to make a peach cobbler.
Mm, I am. I'm drooling like crazy
Yeah.
right now. I'm hungry. I haven't really eaten anything today. I'm gonna have to
Caitlin
go.
has a stovetop mini smoker. Looks like a rectangular pan with an insert to put your food on over wood chips. Get the heck out of town. How do you keep the
Nice.
smoke alarm from going off, though? That's interesting. See, we learn stuff. This is what I love about this, right?
Yes.
I would think, who wants to smoke bread? And then here, Tasha's husband loves smoked biscuits. Crazy. We
Yeah.
learn a whole lot from each other. And man, if you can get that bread bacon out of your kitchen and into something like that, now that is a major heat source
Yeah.
outside your house. Just like I like to can outside on my Camp Chef Explorer instead of inside.
Yes. And Carolyn from that homesteading family, like she showed like on like your homemade bread making what kind of consistency Like she
Yes.
was very specific with what consistency, because you can't, you can't say, okay, this is set in stone, the bread recipe, and this is
Yeah.
exactly how much water, and this is exactly how much flour, because sometimes depending on the climate you're at, excuse me, and the time of year and what kind of weather you're having, that can change day to day, even in the
Yes.
same location. So she did really excellent at showing how to make that, and I need to go back and refresh because I need to practice that skill.
It is hard, and you're right, because I've made the same, like a very dry pizza dough before, and the
Hmm.
next time I end up having to put a half cup flour more than ever
Hmm.
before. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it'll be super rainy. Your air conditioner dehumidifies in your house, but if it's not on, you know what I mean? It makes a big difference. That's a very good point.
Yeah. All right, you
Oh,
guys. Well, I guess we're at an hour. I hope everybody does well. We will not have a live stream next Wednesday because I will be on vacation. That'll be the day I'm due to be home, but I don't know what time we'll get home, and we'll be tired from traveling all day back home. So we will see you the following week then for our next live stream. And that'll give me plenty of time to think up a fabulous topic for us to discuss.
and a
And
vacation. You deserve a vacation, and your husband.
yeah, and I probably won't be doing late night live streams. I may possibly do one tonight, but then after that, for the rest of the week, I have got to get on a more normal schedule because on our vacation, we'll have to be on a more normal schedule to do all that we're going to do. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate each of you. I love you. God bless. Thank you, Mouse, for helping me out. I really appreciate it. You're fabulous as always, darling.
Thank you.
And
And prayers for everybody in the path of this storm just because of power outages.
yes, yep,
Yes.
definitely yes. And keep us updated, folks.
Yes.
And remember, everybody, to prep for it and build those skills. Prep for it all.
Yes.